welcome to our channel. In today's video, we dive into the complex and troubled life of Corey Haim, a star whose career and personal life were marred by significant challenges. Let's find out the details together. When Corey Haim first opened up about the horrific experiences he endured as a child star, many assumed he was referring to Charlie Sheen. However, after Haim's untimely death, more details emerged, revealing a truth far darker than anyone had imagined. Corey Haim's story is a tragic example of a child actor who struggled to transition into adulthood. Addiction ultimately claimed his life, but there were deeper, more sinister issues that contributed to his downfall. From an early age, Corey's mother noticed troubling signs in her son. He was painfully shy and lacked confidence. For a teenager like Corey, the spotlight was the last place he wanted to be. Yet his mother believed that pushing him into performing might help him overcome his shyness. She enrolled him in improv and mime classes, hoping these activities would bring him out of his shell. Unlike Corey, his older sister Carrie had a genuine desire to act. Corey often accompanied her to auditions, and while Carrie faced mostly rejection, Corey unexpectedly caught the attention of producers even without trying. He started with a few commercials before landing his first role in a Canadian educational TV show called The Edison Twins. It wasn't long before Corey made the significant leap to Hollywood. In 1984, when he was 13, he won a role in a movie, a thriller called Firstborn. In it, Corey plays the son of a woman who begins seeing a not-so-nice guy named Sam, played by Peter Weller. Although this should have been an exciting milestone for Corey, the set of the film proved to be terrifying, all thanks to his co-star's disturbing scare tactics. On his first day on set, Corey made the mistake of trying to compliment Peter Weller on his acting. Weller, who played the boy's violent stepfather, grabbed the barely teenage Corey, threw him against a wall, and demanded that he never speak to him again on set. Weller later blamed his behavior on his method acting, but Corey found it hard to recover from the ordeal. Even though his parents divorced in 1982, Corey was still hurting. At a crew party for the movie, he watched as his parents danced, but not with each other. On seeing his parents with other partners, he burst into tears. After a handful of small roles, Corey finally got a lead part in 1985's Silver Bullet. Then, he won a Young Artist Award for his performance in the TV movie A Time to Live with Liza Minnelli. Once Corey hired a Hollywood agent, he stepped into a lead role almost immediately. Lucas came out in 1986, and Corey was the titular character. Years later, his friend and fellow 80s actor Corey Feldman said that there was some serious trouble on the set of Lucas. Feldman alleges that co-star Charlie Sheen molested Corey Haim sometime during the shoot. Of course, Sheen denied these allegations, and he had someone surprising in his corner. Believe it or not, it was Corey's sister Carrie who stood up for Sheen. She said that Sheen was too busy with her to be messing with her little brother. The accusation against the actor seemed to disappear. In 2017, fresh allegations surfaced against Charlie Sheen, accusing him once again of assaulting Corey Haim during the filming of Lucas. This time, the claim came from actor Dominic Braccia, who had worked with Corey on The Lost Boys and had become friends with him. Corey's mother, Judy, quickly responded to the renewed accusations, stating that nothing could have happened on the set of Lucas without her knowing. She went further, accusing Dominic Braccia himself of being the one who abused her son. This denial was seen by some as exactly what Sheen needed, leading to speculation that he may have influenced her statement. Regardless of what may or may not have occurred during the filming of Lucas, Corey's performance caught the industry's attention, sparking excitement around his future. Riding this wave of interest, the young actor decided to leave Canada and relocate to Los Angeles. Around the same time, director Joel Schumacher was casting for his vampire film The Lost Boys. Corey landed a role in the film where he crossed paths with another young actor who would become a significant figure in his life, Corey Feldman. While most of their co-stars on The Lost Boys were old enough to party, the two Coreys spent their time together watching movies, and a close friendship quickly developed. However, this bond would be marked by both incredible highs and devastating lows. The Lost Boys became a hit and is still considered a classic today. It also marked the beginning of a cinematic partnership between Haim and Feldman, leading people to start referring to them as the two Coreys. Haim had found not just a friend, but also a co-star to share the screen with. Yet, despite the initial success, their journey was fraught with challenges. During the filming of their second movie together, License to Drive, the director Greg Beeman observed that the two Coreys often goofed around on set and occasionally disappeared altogether. However, he noted that they always managed to show up on time for work, giving the impression of typical teenagers having fun. But behind the scenes, something far more troubling was happening. For example, although License to Drive required Haim to drive a car, there was an issue. He only had a learner's permit, meaning an adult had to be present in the car with him. To comply with the law, the producers went as far as hiding an adult in the back seat whenever Haim was driving. However, Haim's unsuitability for driving extended beyond his lack of a full license. He later revealed that during the making of the film, he was already grappling with addiction. While in rehab, doctors prescribed him medication to help with withdrawal symptoms, but this led to a severe dependency on Valium. The situation spiraled out of control, with the young actor taking up to 85 pills a day. As Haim's drug problem became more apparent, it began to affect his career. Fans noticed his struggles, and this significantly hurt his popularity. Soon his movies were no longer drawing audiences. As his mainstream appeal waned, he shifted to making direct-to-video films. In one of these projects, he starred alongside his girlfriend, Nicole Eggert, known for her role on Baywatch. While their days were spent on set, their nights were often spent in the emergency room, dealing with the consequences of Haim's addiction. Although they eventually became engaged, their relationship ended before they could marry. Despite his growing issues with addiction, Haim still managed to save a decent amount of money and decided it was time to find a proper place to live. He purchased a mansion in the Hancock Park neighborhood of Los Angeles. Unfortunately, he made the unwise decision to buy the house together with his manager, Michael Bass. This arrangement was problematic from the start, as Bass had previously spent 2 years in prison for swindling and seemed to have learned little from the experience. Bass rushed the purchase of the house, seemingly to quickly organize a charity benefit for Toys for Tots, which, according to sources, turned out to be a scam. The charity benefit turned out to be a significant scam, but unfortunately, it was only the first of many troubling signs. About a year after moving into the mansion with Michael Bass, Haim decided to part ways with him as his manager. However, Bass refused to leave, leading to a heated confrontation in which Haim not only fired him, but also fired a BB gun at him. Bass reported the incident to the authorities, resulting in Haim's arrest. His close friend, Corey Feldman, had to step in and pay the $250 bail to get him out of jail. A year later, Corey Feldman found himself in the spotlight for a different reason, defending Michael Jackson amidst disturbing allegations. When Jackson settled out of court with a 13-year-old accuser, he extended an invitation to Feldman and Haim to visit his Neverland Ranch as a gesture of gratitude. This marked Haim's first encounter with Jackson, a relationship that would later stir controversy. In the years that followed, Haim and Feldman's careers took a downturn, with both appearing in numerous low-quality straight-to-video films. Desperate to revive his career, Haim auditioned for the role of Robin in Joel Schumacher's Batman Forever. He likely hoped Schumacher would remember their collaboration on The Lost Boys, but instead Chris O'Donnell was cast as Batman's sidekick. This rejection was a blow to Haim, who had been counting on support from industry friends like Schumacher. Still reeling from this setback, Haim agreed to take a role in Feldman's directorial debut, Busted, but his addiction problems worsened during filming, causing his situation to spiral further out of control. Despite the fact that Busted was a low-budget, silly comedy, Feldman approached it with seriousness. He soon realized, however, that he couldn't rely on a lead actor who was frequently absent and sometimes even showed up high on set. This forced Feldman into the difficult position of firing his best friend. By 1996, Haim was set to star in a film called Paradise Bar, but he faced a significant hurdle, filling out his insurance form. The form asked about any pre-existing medical conditions, and addiction was one of the listed options. Fearing the consequences of disclosing his struggles, Haim left the box unchecked, a decision that would soon backfire. When the producers discovered they had an addict on set, they reviewed his insurance form and realized the omission. This led to Lloyd's of London suing Haim, resulting in a hefty $375,000 judgment against him, all because he didn't check that box. This financial setback was just one of many burdens weighing on Haim. He already owed $100,000 to the IRS and another $100,000 to various creditors. As for his assets, they were pitifully few, just $100 in cash, an Alfa Romeo Spider, his clothes, and a small pension fund. His addiction also rendered him virtually unemployable, further compounding his financial woes. In July 1997, with no other options left, Haim filed for bankruptcy. Desperate to escape his financial ruin, he made the decision to return to Canada, hoping to find a way out of the deep hole he had fallen into. In Canada, Haim worked on a film called Without Malice, which was shot in a remote part of Saskatchewan. The small town where they filmed had only one bar, and Haim reportedly spent most nights there until closing time. His behavior on set was also concerning. He frequently halted filming to call home and check on his dog, a pattern that made him stand out for all the wrong reasons. By 2001, Haim had hit rock bottom, and True Hollywood Story didn't shy away from highlighting his downfall. The TV special depicted him living in a modest apartment in Santa Monica with his mother, painting a bleak picture of his life. A local pawnbroker even recounted how Haim had begged for $3 to buy a slice of pizza. In 2003, comedian David Spade released Dickie Roberts, Former Child Star, a fictional film that featured numerous real-life former child stars who had struggled to transition into adult roles. Haim and Feldman appeared in the movie alongside other actors from shows like The Brady Bunch and 8 is Enough. For Haim, it was an opportunity to earn some desperately needed money, even though he was no longer actively working in the industry. 3 years later, in 2006, VH1 ranked Haim as number 8 on their list of the greatest teen stars. This recognition sparked an idea. If people were still interested in him after all these years, why not create a reality TV show about the two Coreys? The concept involved Haim living with Feldman and his wife while trying to revive his career. However, viewers who tuned into, the two Coreys, were in for a shock. Haim's battle with addiction had drastically altered his appearance, making him almost unrecognizable. Yet this was just the beginning of the series' more intense revelations. During the show, Haim eventually revealed that he had been inappropriately touched by a man when he was 14 years old. The man was a friend of Feldman's. and Feldman was aware of the situation. It had continued for 2 years. This confession caused a significant rift between the two Coreys, leading them to take a break from the show. Although Haim later won a Canadian Gemini Award for his work on the series, it did little to improve his financial situation. Desperate, he resorted to selling non-fungible tokens of his own hair and even a tooth to make ends meet. The struggling actor was in dire need of something to hold on to, so when he heard about a sequel to The Lost Boys, he must have felt a glimmer of hope. Surely, Haim thought, he wouldn't need to audition. After all, he was one of the original Lost Boys. However, when he reached out to the producers to ask when they wanted him on set, their response was crushing. There was no role for him in the Lost Boys sequel. They did offer him a small cameo, but when Haim arrived on set impaired, they sent him home. This incident seemed to be a turning point for Haim, serving as a wake-up call. Determined to change, he resolved to do better, and against all odds, he managed to revive his acting career. When the opportunity arose to be part of the third installment of the Lost Boys franchise, Haim declined, citing a busy schedule with other projects like Shark City, Crank, High Voltage, American Sunset, and Decisions. He even began requesting a clean set to avoid temptations, and for a while, it seemed to be working. But early in 2010, Haim fell ill, complaining of flu-like symptoms. A doctor visited him at home and reassured him that it was nothing more than the flu. However, just a few days later, Haim collapsed after getting out of bed, falling straight onto his knees. His mother discovered him unconscious and immediately called for help. Paramedics rushed him to the hospital, but in the early hours of the next day, 38-year-old Corey Haim was pronounced dead. The doctors ruled it an accidental overdose, later discovering that Haim had been using false names to obtain prescriptions for medication. Given Haim's history of substance misuse, it was no surprise that doctors initially suspected drugs as the cause of his death. However, the official cause was later determined to be lung damage and pneumonia. Tragically, Haim's mother couldn't afford to pay for his funeral. Thankfully, the city of Toronto had a fund to assist those in need, and a memorabilia site where Haim had previously sold personal items also contributed. Ultimately, it was the funeral home that covered the cost to ensure he was laid to rest. As the funeral concluded, a haunting question lingered. What had truly happened to Corey Haim? A decade after his death, Corey Feldman released a documentary about the lives of the two Coreys, making serious allegations against several men whom he claimed preyed on either him or Haim. Feldman also suggested that a group called Wolfpack was actively working to discredit victims like them. While some dismissed Feldman's claims as far-fetched, others believed that there was indeed something sinister in the way Haim and Feldman had been treated. Feldman recounted that during his visit to Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch with Haim, their time was mostly spent riding go-karts and watching movies. However, years later, a more disturbing account emerged. Ed Meyer, the producer of The Two Coreys, claimed to have a recording of Haim admitting that Jackson had inappropriately touched him sometime after their initial meeting. Since then, Feldman has stopped defending Jackson and remains adamant that both he and Haim were victims of high-profile predators. He believes Hollywood prefers to sweep the dark truths about these former teen stars under the rug. Feldman's concerns may be justified. When Haim passed away, the producers of the Academy Awards chose to omit his name from the In Memoriam section, signaling that the process of forgetting had already begun. And remember, if you've enjoyed this story or others like it, don't forget to show your support by subscribing and hitting the like button. Stay tuned for more informative and exciting stories just like this one.